Welcome back, guys, to another YouTube video. My name is Benicio McLaughlin, and today we are going to be reviewing the new album by Mobb Deep, Infinite. This is their first release since the tragic passing of one half of the group, the infamous himself, Prodigy. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into it. The album starts with my personal favorite song on the album, Against the World, the lead single to the album. Prodigy opens the song with a crazy, hard-hitting verse. The production on the song features high-hitting trumpet percussion, and that just cuts through, and it's just classic Mobb Deep. The second song on the album is Gunfire, a somewhat reggae-inspired delivery on the track from the group. Nothing too crazy to rave about. Very solid offering. The third song on the album is Easy Bruh. It's a decent track. Nothing super special. Personally, I think it's a pass on the album, but decent track, not bad at all, but nothing that stands out too special on that track. The next song on the album is Look at Me, featuring The Clips, another iconic rap group who I personally think have the best album of the year this year so far, with Let God Sort 'Em Out, which I was definitely a big fan of. I think it's a decent pairing. Not quite the beat I would have pictured the Clips on. I would have liked them personally. I think would fit better on the song Mr. Magic, which we'll talk about later on in this video. I think would fit them as far as production-wise better. With that being said, the Clips come through on the track with a nice verse, trading bars back and forth, Pusha T and Malice on the third verse, and Havoc comes through with some bars in there as well to complement their verse very nicely. It's a decent track, not quite living up to the hype as I would have hoped for from the Clips and Mobb Deep collaborating, but a decent offering nonetheless. The song titled The M, the O, the B comes through with some very hard-hitting, grimy-sounding production that I am a fan of. With that being said, the track does heavily take inspiration from the track Diddy by Puffy and the Neptunes, where they spell out their name, and yeah. It's a decent track, nothing too crazy. Definitely would not say it's a pass though, like Easy Bruh, but it is a little bit more of a grimier track, not as polished, I would say, for the album. A good track nonetheless. Next track is Down For You, featuring Nas and Georgia Smith. This is the first of 3 Nas features on the album. Nas having a long history with Mobb Deep, dating back to their album The Infamous, where he is featured on one of my personal favorite rap songs of all time. I think the best Mobb Deep song, in my opinion, An Eye for an Eye, which Nas has a crazy verse. If you haven't listened to it yet, make sure you go check it out. But back to the song at hand. Down For You, featuring Nas and Georgia Smith. Georgia Smith comes through with a lovely hook, very nicely accompanying the beat. This is definitely more of a record for the females, more of a love song. I like it. Nas comes through with a pretty solid verse, name drops Georgia Smith in the verse. Havoc does his thing as always, and then Prodigy comes through with a surprisingly solid verse. Well, I wouldn't say surprising, but just for, obviously what Prodigy's known for, coming through with some of that more gangster type attitude. Drops a pretty solid verse talking about love and his partner on the back end of the track. With that being said, I think it's definitely one of the better songs on the album, and definitely one I don't think you guys want to miss. The track on the album is Taj Mahal, featuring production by The Alchemist. The Alchemist and Mobb Deep have a heavy history together collaborating. I think the beat is one of the standouts on this album. This album is mainly produced by Havoc, but about a quarter of it is produced by The Alchemist. I think this is one of the better beats on the album. This was the second single to the album. With that being said, I think Prodigy and Havoc both provide amazing verses on this track. Not as good as the lead single Against the World, but a very good and very strong track nonetheless. The track has these heavy, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just this earworm of a sound to it. If you haven't listened to it yet, definitely one of the standouts of the album, and I heavily suggest going and checking it out. Alright, next track is Mr. Magic, the track that I think the Clips should have been featured on. I think it fits their rapping style a little bit better. I could just see Pusha T sliding through on the production on this track, Mr. Magic. I mean, his rapping and his cadence, I feel like on the third verse, him and Malice, ooh, that shit would have been crazy. But, as previously stated, they were on the track Look At Me, but I don't know, I just think this track, Mr. Magic, would have been just so good with a Pusha T verse on it, or Malice, just both of them, just, dude. But it's a very catchy track, definitely one of the earworm tracks on the album. On the track, Prodigy and Havoc deliver verses and the hook rapping about how they'll make people disappear like magic, cutting someone's body up like the magic trick, or the rabbit in the hat trick. With that being said, I really enjoy this track. I think it's one of the stronger standouts on the album. It has a very funky, almost beat to it. And it's just, I don't know, just very catchy, very strong production-wise. Next track is called Score Points, featuring production by The Alchemist. It's a decent track, opens up with a nice little guitar riff. As production-wise, it's decent. Expected a little bit more from an Alchemist beat, but it is good nonetheless. With that being said, I do enjoy the track, and it's definitely not a skip, but one of the weaker tracks on the album, but not quite as weak as Easy Bruh, but it is definitely a good track nonetheless. Prodigy and Havoc do their thing as always. Track My Era is also featuring production by The Alchemist and features this just crazy, intrinsic type beat, is the best way I would describe it. The track is very good overall. Prodigy starts the track off with a crazy verse, talking about how he's one of the leaders of his era and his generation, and then Havoc kind of comes in on the back end, and the next track is Pour Out the Henny featuring Nas. The track starts with a very solid verse from Havoc, and then he also takes care of the hook on this song, delivering a very nice hook, very catchy. And then the second verse rolls around where Prodigy comes through telling you about all his accomplishments, of all the people he's worked with in the industry, going on tour with the likes of Eminem, 50 Cent, and all the countless collaborators he's had the pleasure of collaborating with. The song also features Nas on the third verse, delivering a hard-hitting, cutting verse. And the overall message of the song is pouring out a drink for your fallen loved ones. Solid track on the album. Overall, I think it's definitely gonna make my top 3 at the end of this video. The next song is Clear Black Nights featuring Ghostface and Raekwon, frequent collaborators of the group. With that, I think it's a solid track. Prodigy opens up the track talking about how if you ever want to look and find them, you can look up in the sky and find them on a clear black night. A lot of good references on the track. Ghostface comes through with a pretty solid verse, and then the song kind of finishes out with a nice little guitar riff at the end of Raekwon's verse on the fourth verse of the song. Solid track, what you would expect from a collaboration from Ghostface, Raekwon, and Mobb Deep. Decent. Next track is Discontinued, solid track from the group. That's all I pretty much got to say about it. Definitely not a skip, but nothing too much, say about it. Typical Mobb Deep stuff. Song is Down For You Part 2 featuring Nas and Her. What I got to say about this track is I personally enjoyed the first part better. I think Georgia Smith on the first one delivered the better hook. Her comes through with a decent hook, but I don't know. I'm just not quite a fan of her hook on this style of production, with the hi-hats being so strong and prevalent in the song. Nas comes through, decent verse from Nas, as always, being one of the legends of hip-hop. Prodigy comes through with a very solid verse on the back end of the track, similar to the first one, where he's talking about themes of love and being down for his ride or die. And then Havoc comes through with a solid verse as well, talking about the same subject matter. Overall, I personally appreciate the first one better, and I think it is the stronger of the two. But this one is not bad by any means, just personally, I enjoy the first part better. But to each their own. And next, the closing track, We the Real Thing, features a very strong opening verse from Prodigy himself, talking about how he has lived the street life and how he is not scared of beef, and how he will go to extreme lengths to continue to live and provide for himself the life he lives. Very solid song from the group. With that being said, it has this very strong, almost electric feel production with some very nice synths layered into it. I think it's a very solid track. Definitely not one you want to pass up on the album. Overall, I give the album a solid 8.3 score. My top 3 favorite songs from the album were Against the World, Pour Out the Henny, and Mr. Magic, in that order. Very solid album. I definitely would suggest for all you guys to go check it out if you haven't yet. This is the 4th album in Mass Appeal Records' Legend Has It series, with the other 3 previous ones being Slick Rick, Victory, Raekwon's On Emperor's New Clothes, and Ghostface with Supreme Clientele 2. Well, that is the end of this album review. Please check back for more videos soon, and peace out.